So what else am I noticing about my job that forces me to look at things in myself that I don't want to see, Well, one, being customer service and seeing the same people every day can breed, there's a climate usually of like gossip and negativity to some degree. Now, a lot of people can skate through that stuff completely unscathed, and because they're just not tuned into that frequency. They don't have that in their being or whatever. And bless all of you who are like that. And then there's other people who, there's so many different ways that it can manifest, but like for me, I have this separate self that's very sensitive to rejection and being gossiped about and being looked at in a way that puts me at as the problem or the scapegoat or not liked, It's actually makes so much sense, because I've been talking about the birth trauma recently on my videos, and it's of course there's this feeling of unsafety that comes up, not feeling like you belong and feeling outcasted, and how many instances that has happened. I think the biggest instance that this happened, there's been several huge instances in my current lifetime where that has manifested in such a huge degree. One in high school where I was severely bullied. Severely, that's a strong word. There are people who are physically beaten up. That was not my experience, but I was, emotionally beaten up. At least that's, how it felt. Everything felt really raw when I was a teenager. And then again in my late 20s. And so inside of a community. And so, why do these instances come up? So why, because you have to think about the why. It's not, you can't just look at it from this victim perspective of oh, these things just always happen to me, like a victim would. Because when you're a spiritually minded individual, you can see oh, shit, I wrote this stuff into my plan for me to overcome. So the question changes from why me to, oh, why would I have done this? Why would I have put this in my plan for me to experience? Why would I have written these circumstances, these situations for me to face? Well, because there's a wound that you need to overcome. Like I said, a hard life is an asset, and when you have such hard experiences happen to you, why else would you have put them in your life experience if not other than to overcome the thing that it's pointing directly to, which is some narrative, some belief, some experience that you've internalized that has kept you stuck. Unresolved trauma. It's like a pocket of stagnation, and it's stuck in one of your four lower bodies, either the physical, the mental, emotional identity, and sometimes all four. And so when I think about this job, for example, and how I haven't totally transcended it, and I'm not going to let it go until I have, because it's just going to follow me, And, as you get older, you kind of can settle. And this can be good or bad, but if the energy isn't there for me to create some momentum into finding something else, obviously it's not bad enough. You know what I mean? And so it's not a bad enough gig for me to just drop it like it's hot and then find something else. I have, you could be meticulous, deliberate in your search. And the thing is I haven't fully gotten clear about what I want in a job. And so here I am in a role that is good enough for now. It's not ideal. But it checks enough boxes, which is I get to interact with people. I get to face my shit. I'm not in some echo chamber, my own ego. I get to interface with life right before me. I get to interface with customers. I get to spread my light in that way and always learn and grow from those experiences, whatever experiences I have. And that's in any job, any profession, you get that opportunity, right? And yeah, like I said, it pays some of my bills. And so that's nice. It is further away than I would like it to be, but you know what? That's what we're dealing with right now. And so going back to like the circumstances and like the situations, we attract these situations and circumstances to face what we have yet to resolve. And for me, obviously in this lifetime, it's been my birth trauma, and the primal self, and like these lifetimes that came after that kind of fed the same wound and fed that same conglomerate of selves that is afraid of persecution, afraid of being, or like dealing with poverty consciousness because of whatever internalized belief that I had created from when I was in a different position, and not just economically, but socially, and getting to reckon with like whatever damning selves that I've taken on, whatever damning beliefs that I've taken on, because we, as avatars, we come here to this earth, we're completely, tortured and persecuted and traumatized and abused by fallen beings, and we're made to think that we caused something bad to happen to other people, whether it was a war or a societal downfall. And for whatever reason, I could see it in my mind's eye. It's like I had some higher position, hugely influential position, like matriarchal, like hierarchical position of some time, like one of my original embodiments, and was influenced and attacked in such a way that I was made to think that I had caused it when I didn't cause it. I just didn't succumb to the fallen beings. And so then down I went into consciousness, because I had internalized the abuse, internalized the narratives that I was being fed, internalized some type of thing that then caused me to feel lifetime after lifetime after that I am not enough, that I did something so wrong, that I'm always doing something wrong. That's why I've, been hyper vigilant about like, doing the right thing, or always, becoming type A. I used to not be type A, and then I became type A, but I did have OCD as a child. So I don't know. All this to say is like, there's a rhyme and a reason for everything, psychologically inside of you, and it comes from somewhere. And so, and it's not yours to continue to hold on unless you continue to believe it. And so when you stop feeding a belief, you stop feeding these lies that you've internalized, you stop feeding these narratives that you've taken on, they lose their grip and their power, and they start to die. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're different. And it's a process. It's not just overnight. I mean, maybe the epiphany can happen, and then like you change, and then all of a sudden your life is changing. Your physical reality changes. Like my life a year ago is completely different. I made a decision that I wanted to face my shit. And I took the biggest leap that I thought at the time, which was selling my tiny house and choosing discomfort in order for me to grow. And I wanted to do it in an accelerated way. I didn't want to continue to live the life that I was leading up until that point, because I was miserable and I was angry and I was a victim and I was just so sick of it. And for a lot of us, we have to do those things. We have to make those big changes sometimes in order to get unstuck, because then after that you create momentum, and then you can it's just an easier process because you have momentum behind you. And so when I think about, the future, I'm going to continue to face or be presented situations that trigger me into the places that I still haven't resolved. And that's going to continue to happen until I leave this earth. Because that's the whole point. It's like you're challenging everything that isn't you so that you become so light in consciousness that it's almost like you're not even a vibrational match anymore for this planet because you've ascended beyond it. I mean, that is the ascension. You're ascending in consciousness to a point where it's just like, oh, I have transcended this earth entirely. I am not, now I can't even get back there. I'm not even qualified to come back because I'm not dense enough for it. Because I can see beyond all this dualistic unreality and these beliefs and seeing things from a fragmented lens. Because you have to understand, it's like when you have a lower level of consciousness, and that's the thing, when you first come into embodiment, yes, you may have come from natural planets and you may have been a high being from other worlds, and yes, you had a higher state of consciousness, but when you come to earth, baby, you descend to the 48th level. And so that's like it's like this neutral plane point, so you can either go up or down from there. When you go below the 48th level, things are really dense. So even though I was in like this higher position and was a freshie coming from a different world and had all this spiritual light, because I had all this spiritual light, still have all the spiritual light, my consciousness now is actually higher than it was when I first came here. Like, think about that. Like, your consciousness is higher than it was when you first embodied. And that in and of itself is an awesome victory, because you have all this time helped the earth get to a point, to a higher level of consciousness. And so, and yourself, and you're pulling up on all of the planet. You're pulling up on the lower half of consciousness. You're pulling them up, The ultimate community service work right there, let me tell you. So what was I saying? What was I saying? Consciousness, me, yeah, I don't know. I just think that that's the whole point. Like, this is what we do this for. We take responsibility. We see our wounds and our triggers as our own, that we have taken on through experiences that we have had, and the beliefs and issues that, the beliefs and narratives that we have, decided to take on to look at life through. And that's the cool thing about when you're ascended, you don't have that fragmentation. You don't have like a one way to look at things like we do on earth. Like, they have their own version of it. They're not the creator's consciousness whatsoever, but they're closer than us. And so we look to them for support, and they can see a higher, more holistic, all-encompassing vision of something than we can in a certain, when we're looking through like a cell, for example, because it's just a filter, and I want to take the damn filter off and not be so fragmented, like when you think of like a circle and like there's 360 degrees, it's like it's like being in the circle and only looking through 1 degree of the circle. Like, it's so fragmented. But then you zoom out and you let the sun shine, and baby, you got rainbows everywhere. You know what I mean? So, and so yeah, that's my other thoughts with that. So as more comes, I will share more.